Hey everyone, welcome to another week. This week we will be moving forward and we're going to be developing our own designs now. So last week we did a practice, everyone pretty much did the same thing. The focus was to get that overlapping one shape going on top of the other and then going back on top of a different shape or the same shape. And now we're going to get a little bit more expressive. So I'm going to be asking that you create at least 5 designs of your own, and they're going to be smaller scale because they're just going to be rough sketches, so we're kind of just getting our ideas out. I'm still going to ask that you do create a little bit thick lines so you kind of understand what goes into that, and you still need to show me that overlapping effect. You can continue with the theme of 4 circles. I encourage you to do something a little different. In my sketches you'll see that I use 2 circles and then I create 2 more organic shapes to intertwine them and make it a little bit more interesting. It makes for a better composition. So again, I say at least 5. I encourage you to do more and then pick out your best 5. So say if you were to do 10, kind of give me a circle around which 5 you think are the most successful, because it will take more than 5 times to really nail it down. And as you progress, you realize that you get more comfortable and then you get other ideas in your head. So it is better to do a little bit more. You do not have to. That is not a requirement. The requirement is 5 designs. And then what we're going to be doing next week is I'm going to help you decide which one you should move forward with for your final, and then we're going to blow up that drawing. So the rough sketches are going to be small, there's going to be a bunch of different ones, and then you kind of plan out which one you like the most, and then we're going to blow it up, and we'll choose which one you like the most first, and then you create a larger drawing, and then we're just going to pause at that drawing, and then we will move forward with the coloring portion of it. And before you know it, we'll be done with our first project. So, yep, let's get to the demonstration. Alright, so I have my designs laid out. This is a little bit more. Okay, so I have 1, 2, kind of messed up on this one, 3, 4, 5. So like I said in the beginning of the video, is you need to have 5 designs total, at least 5 designs total. I encourage you to do more. That's what I'm going to do right now. But notice, again, what I touched on in the beginning of the video is this one doesn't, but every one of these have 2 circles, okay, as kind of like the base. And then it has the organic shapes, creating more interesting composition, especially this one up here kind of tied around something. So it's all about just going over, under. It's really a different way of thinking, and it's a completely different part of your brain that you're going to be using through this process. So if you are getting frustrated, just know that it's all right, because you probably aren't used to doing this. And that's the whole reason for this class, is to be thinking a little bit differently. So the way I set this up is because I like to be very organized. Is I created these boxes. I believe they are 3 inches by 3.5 inches. Well, technically 3.5 inches by 3 inches. But I'll include that in the written description if you want to create something like this. I like to be organized. You don't have to. I'd suggest don't use a whole piece of paper for every sketch. If you want to, you can. However, with my sketches, my rough sketches, I like to keep them a little bit smaller. That way I can get more out of my piece of paper, and I don't have to keep reusing another piece, because that way, my sketchbook will be taken up quite quickly. So I kind of laid out this grid, did some sketches, and basically if you were to submit this 5, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring them up after you submit them. I'm going to look over them, tell you what could be a little bit better, and you'll see an example of that when I do it. For the next part of for this week's submission. So, maybe, there's some areas, especially right here, that this is maybe a little bit too close, so adjust, and I'll just be making suggestions on the one that I think you should move forward with. So, I'm gonna do a couple of sketches just so you can see how I would approach it. Again, this is a big one. This was the, my kind of final drawing. We'll get into that at a later point. So, it's totally fine to start off with something to trace, okay? Notice how it's thick. I'm not just drawing circles. I'm not, one circle here, line. That's not what I'm doing. I forgot to take my eraser out. So I'm gonna pause 1 second. I'm gonna try to find my eraser. Got my eraser. All right. So, just make sure we are good to go. Yep. So, I'm gonna start by tracing a couple circles. And again, I'm tracing it for my sketches, and you could also trace it for your final as well. You just have to find a bigger circle to trace. Start simple, I'll just put them in the corners. And then after I complete that, I'm just gonna make those thicknesses as well, okay? And you may remember last week, and I hope you do, the fact that we want those thicknesses to be nice and even going all the way around. So notice what I'm doing right now is I'm moving my paper because I feel more comfortable doing it like this rather than doing this motion. I take it little by little. And that way it's a little more accurate. Okay. And I'm not really going to worry about erasing anything yet, so I'm just going to draw lines right over each other, but I'm not going to press too hard, so when I do go to erase, it's nice and easy to see. So I'm not squeezing my pencil, just being nice and light. Imagine if you're holding a piece of straw. You don't want to snap the straw in half. You want to keep it intact. So I complete that. And now I see my two circles and I think to myself, well, what could be an interesting interaction, in and out type thing? So I'm going to create my first organic shape. And remember, you can do 4 circles. I encourage you to do a different shape. You can keep them all organic shapes. You could do a square, an oval, a triangle if you wanted to, just simple geometric shapes. I like to do, obviously, as you see here, some more organic shapes because the movement's a little more interesting to me. So let's see. Got that shape like that. And when I do my organic shapes, I take it one step at a time, okay? Because it's a little bit trickier because obviously you see that you're kind of running out of space here. So the planning that's involved is important. So I'm gonna actually put the outside to have that thickness. Again, because on the first try, I put the line on the inside right here, but now I'm going on the outside because I realized the inside, if I put that line on the inside, it's going to be a little too tight. So just by flipping and making that line on the outside, I allow more room to breathe. So everything in the middle of the composition isn't so jam-packed. There's something going on all around the composition. Taking my time, spinning my paper around. It's always so annoying for righties. I know lefties probably experience it more often when you hit the binding on your book. Okay. So now I got 3 shapes and I want 1 more. So I'm kind of just looking at my composition, figuring out where I might want to put that 4th shape and what interaction I might want to create. So looking at it, And in class, this would be the point where I grab suggestions from the other students. So that's the part I really miss, is the interaction. And I'm sure you all miss it too. So I kind of want to leave this space as is, so I don't want to interrupt that too much. So what if I have this going down here? No, I don't think that might work. I'm gonna have it turning up right here. And then I'm gonna have it turning. So you can see I'm trying to plan out the best areas. I don't just draw out the shape, I want to plan it out. So, I'm gonna leave that there for now. Maybe if I just turn this, and we could have kind of like a massive point of intersection right here. I know I originally said I wanted to keep that area, but this area right here will still be good to go. And now I created that line, smooth out some of these areas. And now I got to decide whether I should put the thickness on the inside or on the outside. And I'm not quite sure what I want to do. If I put it on the outside, it looks like it's kind of going to have a similar effect in this area. This intersection right here, the intersection right there. You know what? I think I'm going to put this one on the inside. So again, right now I'm drawing lightly and I'm just going over all the lines. And then the last step to this would be to erase. Okay, so now I look at all my lines, and now for me this is the funnest part, is really figuring out that overlapping effect. So to kind of refresh your memory, remember, if you want something sitting on top of another shape, you need to erase the lines inside of that shape. So I know right here, in this section right here, I'm looking through my camera so I can see, this section right here, I want this circle overlapping this shape. So I have to erase all of the lines just right here inside of the circle. So I erase, and I'm going to draw them back so it's nice and clean. And now you can see how it's sitting on top of it, right? And so I'm just going to continue to do that around, just like we did in the last video. Places right here, when you kind of have when it intersects it twice, what I like to do is I like to have it going under one area and over the next. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to have it going, I'm going to have this shape go over at this point and then go under at this point. So I'm going to put my pad back down real quick. So it's going over first. And then it's going under. So I need to erase the lines on the opposite shape. Those lines nice and clean. Now you can see that kind of twisting effect right there. Oop, gotta bring it a little lower. Twisting effect right there. That looks very interesting to me. Same thing right here. When you kind of have a double thing right here, I think I'm gonna make the circle go over both these shapes. So I'm gonna make this circle go over this circle and this shape in the middle. And then I'm gonna have it going under this shape right here. So I'll tell you what I mean in a second. I'll show you what I mean in a second. Art is a visual. There is speaking about art, but it's also showing, right? And then I want it going under that one. So I need to erase the circle lines right here. And now you can see it's going over these shapes right here, this circle, and it's going under this one. So it already looks much cleaner toward, oh, sorry. You can see it right here, right? Going over here and going under right here. So you could already see how this area looks much cleaner than this just because I'm erasing the lines, then I draw them in a little bit darker after I erase them, okay? So I'd go clean that up, I'd move on to my next one, my next one, my next one, my next one, and say if you're, you know, if you're creating a sketch and you just don't like how it's coming out, stop and move on. You do not have to complete every sketch, right? The reason why I want you to do more, and I believe I said this in the beginning of the video, is the more you do it, the better results you get sometimes, right? You know, you can sit and sketch for 10 minutes and not come up with anything, but as soon as minute 15 hits, you might have a great idea. So you could start with the 2 circles, or the other way you could start, and this will be the last thing I show you, is you could start with those organic shapes or the other shapes. You do not have to start with those 2 circles. And again, you don't even need to have 2 circles. You can do all organic shapes if you wanted to. So I'm going to do an organic shape in this corner and one in this corner. And I'm not going to have these overlapping, because when I draw in the circle, and I'm going to go a little fast right now because I want you to be able to get to work. So, well, still came out pretty good even though I went a little quick. Oh, that is too wide. And you see what I had right here? I'll finish the shape and then I'll talk about it. This is something with organic shapes you really need to be careful about. So you see right here how these lines are almost touching? Say if I drew that shape out and then I drew the lines on the inside and these are touching, that's no good. Okay, that's no good. A quick fix to that is just, instead of putting, you remember this, the outside was my original shape, I could just create the thickness on the outside and I'll know that space will not touch. Or you can erase the shape and just bring these curves back a little bit. But organic shapes like this, you want to make sure you leave the space on the inside, okay? So again, for this one, I started off with 2 organic shapes, and now I'm going to take my circle and create those overlaps. And as I have done this, you know, the sketches you've seen before, I started off with doing the 2 circles, and then I realized I got a little bit better results by starting off with the organic shapes. So that's something, a little food for thought. Do I want to put it in the corner? Put it right. Tough decision right here. This last one. I'll leave some space on the bottom here. See what that looks like. Yeah, I like that. And then I'll draw on the inside of these circles to create that overlap. Okay, let's see how it looks right there, right? So just follow along on the inside, create that thickness, and I could even do it on the outside for this one, and then that would make this circle look like it was a little bit bigger than this one, which is also a cool effect. So like I said, I expect to see 5 of these, at least 5. If you do more, great. If you don't, that's okay. I do think you would have a little more success if you did a little bit more than 5. And again, I like to think this is a little bit more, I mean, I'm biased. I'm an art teacher. I'd rather be doing this than math or pretty much any subject. I love art. But sit down. The best thing about art for me is that you can do it outside, and many artists do work outside always. So, you can still enjoy that fresh air. I always work with some music playing. Try to make it as enjoyable as possible for you, and don't get frustrated. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone's work from this week's submission and working through the kinks that we would have to work through. and I will put an image of these. I will finish this one, then put an image of this one and this one on with the assignment, so you could see the work on an image form rather than just on this video. So take your time, try to enjoy it. I believe we have an extended weekend coming up. And again, try to do this outside, because there's no reason why you can't do this outside. It's it's better to do work outside, in my opinion, than inside. So any chance you get to step outside and get that fresh air, get it. It is important, especially in this time. And I look forward to seeing everyone's work. Thumbs up.